Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am going to be looking at authors' highest rated books on Goodreads and seeing whether I agree or disagree that these are their best books. I have to say, a couple of these I was a little surprised by. I was a little surprised by what was the most popular, highest rated Goodreads book. So let's dive right in. I got the idea for this video from a random Instagram reel that popped up in my recommended. It was from an account called @WhatShe'sReadingPod, and they were making a reel looking at popular, booktube, book talk authors and seeing what their highest rated books were and if they agreed that those were the most deserving. I thought it would be kind of fun to try to do that on my YouTube channel. So what I did is yesterday I looked up some authors on Goodreads, authors where I've read a significant number or all of their books, just to see what's the highest rated and do I think that's actually my favorite. So first, and very quickly, I did look at my two favorite authors, Jane Austen and Agatha Christie. So Jane Austen, I have read every single one of her books, and no surprise, Pride and Prejudice was the highest rated on Goodreads, which is a good choice because this is not only my favorite Jane Austen novel, it's my favorite book of all time. I absolutely love Pride and Prejudice, so definitely very deserving. Pride and Prejudice has an average rating of 4.29 stars on Goodreads. This book is a classic, it's beloved. What more do I need to say? Totally deserving of the high rating. It's amazing. As for Agatha Christie, I have not read every book that she ever wrote. I hope to, but she wrote, I think, like 60 or 70 mysteries, a really high number. So obviously I haven't read all of those yet, but I have read most of her very famous titles. So I looked at her because I figured whatever the highest rated book was, it was probably going to be one of the books that I already read. So Agatha Christie's highest rated book on Goodreads is And Then There Were None, with an average rating of 4.28 stars, very close to Pride and Prejudice. I also agree with this take because And Then There Were None is, so far at least, my absolute favorite Agatha Christie. It was also the first book that I read by her, and it's genius, it's iconic. You see so many different modern mystery writers reference And Then There Were None in their own work. It's iconic, it deserves the highest rating, agree 100%. Then I decided to look at some popular thriller authors. I think with thrillers, I generally speaking read multiple books from the same author because if I like one, I want to check out all their other stuff. Each book stands alone typically. And even if a thriller author has one book that I don't really care for, I usually always want to give them another chance, even if, one of their later titles isn't as good as the earlier titles. So I looked at a decent number of thriller authors, and let's start with some of the ones that I agree with first before we get into the disagreement. Lucy Foley, her highest rated book on Goodreads is The Guest List with an average rating of 3.81. I agree, this is the Lucy Foley book that I personally like the best, though I haven't read The Midnight Feast yet, her latest release. So maybe that will change, but as of right now, this is, in my opinion, her best book. This is like an isolated mystery, sort of like And Then There Were None style island setting, but it actually takes place at a wedding with multiple different people from the bridal party and the event staff having their own perspectives. And by the end of the wedding, someone will be dead and one of the other characters is the one who killed them. This was the first Lucy Foley book that I read, and so far the best from her. I really didn't like The Paris Apartment that much. I didn't hate it, but I really wasn't wowed by where that book went. And The Hunting Party was good, but I just think The Guest List was a better example of a similar premise. Samantha Downing, she's another thriller author where I've read everything she's written. Her last book wasn't really a win for me. I didn't care for that one, but I've enjoyed all the other books that I read from her and definitely excited for her next release in 2025. Her highest rated book on Goodreads is My Lovely Wife, which has an average rating of 3.84 stars out of 5. This is also my favorite Samantha Downing book. This is a thriller about a husband and wife who kill people together. They are a married serial killer couple, and it is so good. It's been a while since I first read this. This was the first book that I read by Samantha Downing, so I don't remember everything that happened in the book. I am a bit fuzzy on it after all this time, but I remember reading it and really, really enjoying it. So I think this is a good choice for her highest rated book. And the other thriller author that I totally agree in regards to their highest rated book is Peter Swanson. So I've read a decent number of Peter Swanson books, not every single one, but I've definitely read all of his popular titles. His highest rated book is The Kind Worth Killing with an average rating of 3.99 stars, and 100% this is his best book. This book is so good. It blew my mind when I read it. So this is a mystery thriller with a sort of like strangers on a train premise where our main character Ted meets this woman named Lily when they are seated next to each other on an airplane. Ted starts talking about how his wife is cheating on him, and Lily says that his wife sounds like the type of person worth killing, so if he wants to murder his wife, she'll help him. Everything unravels from there. This book had a twist that I am obsessed with. My mind was blown when I read it. I had to reread the page to confirm that this is actually what happened, and it lives rent-free in my mind. Definitely Peter Swanson's best book. I did also enjoy 8 Perfect Murders by him. I personally liked that. I know not everybody did, but I definitely think The Kind Worth Killing is the best book of his. He did end up writing some sequels to it. I haven't read the sequels because I haven't really heard anyone talk about them, if they're actually worth reading. I also think that if I was going to read the sequels, I would probably have to reread The Kind Worth Killing to remind myself of who all the characters are. So if you have read the sequels to that book, let me know if you think they're actually worth checking out or not. So now let's get into some of the authors where their highest rated book is not actually my favorite. First, Riley Sager. I have read every Riley Sager book except for his most recent release, The Middle of the Night, or is it In the Middle of the Night? Whatever it's called. Haven't read that one yet, but I've read all his others. I was kind of surprised by what his highest rated book is. His highest rated book is The Only One Left, which has an average rating of 4.14 stars. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this one, so I'm not mad about it being his most popular book. I was really worried that Lock Every Door was gonna be the most highest rated, because that's the one that I think everybody on BookTube loves, and that book pissed me off. It's my least favorite Riley Sager, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not mad at this being the pick. The Only One Left is a good book. I think I gave it like a 4-star. I did predict one of the early twists in the book, but the end did kind of go in some directions that I wasn't expecting and was a bit over the top at points, but I think that's just Riley Sager's style. You really do have to suspend your disbelief when you're reading him sometimes because he does things that aren't the most realistic. However, it is not my favorite Riley Sager. My favorite Riley Sager is The Last Time I Lied, which has an average rating of 4.03, still a very high rating. I don't remember if The Last Time I Lied was the first or second Riley Sager book that I read, but it was definitely one of the earlier ones. And this book is surrounding a murder that took place at a summer camp, and now many years later our main character is coming back to this camp where one of her cabin mates was murdered when they were children. I just remember really enjoying this, and there was like one part of it that was kind of silly, but I remember just being really satisfied with how the book turned out and really enjoying it while I was reading it. My second favorite would probably be Home Before Dark, I think, because I did really like that one as well. I do feel like all of his books kind of do have silly endings. Every single Riley Sager book, there's something about it that's just not totally believable, though some of them are more unbelievable than others. Like, the reason I hate Lock Every Door is because I thought the ending was just so silly, and I feel like nobody was talking about how silly it was. Like, everybody took it seriously except for me, so that's why I didn't like that one. But the only one left is a good book. I just don't think it would be my favorite. Now, I also looked at Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, and their most popular book, I was really surprised because I was like 99.99999% sure that their highest rated book was going to be The Wife Between Us. But that's not true. Their highest rated book is actually The Golden Couple, which has an average rating of 3.98 stars. Whereas The Wife Between Us, their most famous book, only has an average rating of 3.84 stars, which is actually one of the lower ratings on this entire list. The Golden Couple is not a bad book. It was the most recent book that Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen wrote together. I don't know if they're still writing books together anymore because it's been several years since they came out with a book together, and I think they've both written titles independently since The Golden Couple came out. I mean, this is my second favorite book by this writing duo because the other two books they wrote I found very average and really honestly not all that memorable. But I just really thought The Wife Between Us was going to be the highest rated because this is their most famous book by a mile. This is the book that everybody was talking about. And I would say it's my favorite book by the two of them. Though I do have to wonder, perhaps because it is the most famous book, that actually brought the rating down, since if a whole bunch of people are reading your book, including maybe some people who wouldn't usually pick up a book like this, that may bring the rating down a little bit just due to the greater variance of opinion, whereas maybe something like The Golden Couple was read more so by devoted Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen readers. So I really don't know. That's just my thoughts. Personally, The Wife Between Us, in my opinion, is the best book that they wrote. This book also has a really great twist. I remember being shocked when I read it, and I think it was really well executed. I do think the book petered out a little bit towards the end, which is why it's not an all-time favorite for me, but it has an iconic twist, genuinely surprising twist. So I thought this was going to be number one, but evidently not. Wasn't even that close. I also thought it would be interesting to look at a series. So this year I finished all of the books that are currently out in the Veronica Speedwell mysteries by Deanna Rayburn. This is a historical mystery series set in the Victorian era. I think there are 9 books out currently. I've read all of them. I wanted to see which of these books is the highest rated. And let me tell you, I don't agree. I don't agree at all, because the highest rated Veronica Speedwell mystery is A Dangerous Collaboration, which is actually one of my least favorites. I think I know why this is the highest rated, but personally, I didn't like it that much. A Dangerous Collaboration has an average rating of 4.29 stars. I think the reason this book is rated so highly is because of the developments in the romance in this book, which I will admit were swoon-worthy. I was deceased reading them, be still, my Stoker-loving heart. However, the reason I don't really care for this book is because, to me, the mystery was not that good. When I read A Dangerous Collaboration, I knew who the killer was, I think, pretty much the entire time. So when I got to the end of the book and that was actually the killer, I was really disappointed, because that person, there was never a doubt in my mind that they were the killer. I think a lot of people liked this because Stoker is the best man of all time and we are all Veronica and Stoker shippers, okay? But I just think the mystery in this book wasn't that good. The romance was a 5 out of 5 stars. The mystery was like 2 stars. I think if I had to choose a favorite Veronica Speedwell book, I would go with A Treacherous Curse, which has an average rating of 4.16. I mean, the books do blend together a little bit in my mind, but I remember when I read this one, I was so totally invested in it. I loved it. I remember the mystery plot line of this book a little better than I remember the mysteries in some other books. So if I had to choose a favorite, I would pick that one, book 3, but you know, I think A Dangerous Collaboration got a boost due to the Veronica and Stoker content in it. I disagree. That's just me though. Next, I looked at Madeline Miller. It's been so long since Madeline Miller came out with a book. I wish that she would have a new book for me to read. No surprise, her highest rated book is The Song of Achilles with a rating of 4.32. And The Song of Achilles is good. I'm not saying it's not good, but my favorite is Circe. And I know this is a hot take. I feel like, you know, there are people who love Circe and didn't love The Song of Achilles as much. And there are people who love The Song of Achilles and who didn't care for Circe. But I'm a Circe girl, okay? In this house, we stan Circe. That's just my opinion. Circe has an average rating on Goodreads of 4.23, so still really high, but not as high as Song of Achilles. Both of these books are beautifully written, but the reason I don't like The Song of Achilles as much as I like Circe is because I didn't really sympathize with Achilles all that much. I found him very unlikable at points. Hashtag Justice Fabricius. Okay, he did her so wrong. With Circe, I genuinely was like really invested in the characters. I thought it had a great story. It was emotional. It made me feel so many things. And so that's why that one is my favorite. I just liked the characters better and was more invested in Circe's journey. Whereas with The Song of Achilles, it was well written, amazingly written. But there were times where I was like, man, Achilles is the worst. I hate his guts. So that's why I didn't like that one as much. It's still good. I'm probably gonna lose subscribers because I voiced this opinion. I know it's a hot take, but it's my opinion. It's honestly how I feel. Any other Circe lovers out there? Any other Achilles haters? Let me know. And then finally, I looked at Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have not read any of her romances, but I have read all of her historical fiction, and to the surprise of no one, the highest rated book by her is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is an amazing book. When I read this book, I cried. I think more than once. This is a historical fiction where the famous film actress Evelyn Hugo is recounting the story of her life and her 7 infamous marriages. It's going to be adapted into a Netflix film soon. It is an amazing book. However, I will say the average rating of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is 4.41 stars. That is amazingly high. And even though I love that book, I don't know how I feel about it being higher than Pride and Prejudice, the greatest book of all time. I don't know how I feel about that. So that was a little look into authors' highest rated Goodreads books versus the ones that I think are actually their best. I hope this video was somewhat enjoyable. Let me know in the comments, have you read these authors that I mentioned, and what are your favorite books by them? Do you agree with the Goodreads rating, or do you think another book is actually their best? Let me know in the comments section. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. It really does help my channel so much, and you can find my social media links in the description if you want to connect with me on other platforms. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more from me, please do subscribe. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a brilliant rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you in the next video.